in the past, but you know, I don't want to call out specific districts at this point in time, but we look at other districts that are similar to us across the state, and then how well they performed on the SBAC in English language arts and math, and I would say that we're right in line with that performance of other districts. California and San Diego County did see a decline. You know, I don't want to sugarcoat the idea that, you know, that performance from 2018-19 versus 2021-22, overall there was declines across the county and across the state. I would say in Carlsbad, when we look at other comparable districts, in many cases we outperform those districts. So that's a good sign.
Thank you.
I wanted to thank Dr. Upset and Dr. Brockett for the intervention plans and actions. I appreciate that. That's helpful. What is the difference between the academic support counselor and a regular counselor that you mentioned?
That's a great question. So with some of the one-time funding or impact funding that we've had over the last couple of years, the high school, all schools have tried, you know, some different approaches that they felt were best for their student populations. I can speak specifically to Carlsbad High School, having been there recently. The first year that we were back last year, we put some of those dollars into our master schedule, we would say, where we reduced class sizes in specific areas where we felt like we could impact, specifically in English and math classes, to try to make some impacts in those areas. Sage Creek, at the same time, decided to put some of those dollars into an intervention counselor. So that was a counselor that was specifically tasked with not having a regular caseload like one of our normal counselors would, but to target specific populations of students that might need you know, greater intervention, whether that was based on the DF lists, based on students that were in specific intervention classes, or students that were referred there over the course of the year. When we sat down and kind of assessed where we were at the end of last year at Carlsbad High School, talked, like Dr. Nye said, we talked to each other, hey, what's working, what's not working, and we really felt like, you know, Sage Creek provided us some good feedback about how that particular role had worked in having that academic support counselor here. And so we felt like that was going to be a good move for us coming into this year as well. So that person, you know, again, at Carlsbad High School, in the discussion we had, starting with those areas that I mentioned, who are the students that we've already identified for Lancer success, for Algebra 1A, that's sort of the starting caseload, if you will, for that counselor. And then as those DF numbers come in throughout the year, doing that follow-up. So that person, by not having a caseload, in an initial alphabetical caseload like our normal counselors do, can really dig in and do a little bit more intensive intervention with students and outreach to families in a way that, you know, a counselor with, you know, 400 students has a harder time doing.
Thank you. Any other questions? Ms. Jones and then Mr. Pearson.
Thank you. My question is related to the recommendation for goal number 1 and changes, I guess, and this goes back to, you know, when we had the recommendations for WestEd to grow our A to G numbers. Do we feel like our current budget supports the increase that you're proposing? So I know we have a lot of interventions kind of spread out. Since math and English are the focus, do we feel like we've got the supports and, you know, manpower and supplies and all that to make that number happen? Is that how we arrived at this decision?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Dr. Nye, the slide on summer school credit recovery, I don't remember the slide number on it. Thank you. 11, I think. Thank you. Slide 11. So the completion rates on the courses, how does that compare? Two questions. How does that compare subgroups who take those? Europe, maybe pre-COVID and post-COVID, and how does that compare just in terms of percentage completion, general population?
Yeah, we don't have subgroup information at this point in time for people that attended summer school. In regards to completion rates for credits, we expanded significantly summer school. So this is a larger than normal summer school credit recovery program, and so they are receiving more credits than usual.
Okay.
Can I add to that as well, the transition over the last couple of years from a more traditional in-person summer school credit recovery, I mean, and when I say in-person, we still have in-person, but we've adopted the Apex credit recovery system as kind of the core of the summer school. Apex is an online credit recovery that we use with students during the school year and now in summer school as well. And I believe that we've captured more students who have some more option and flexibility. Last year, we continued to offer a hybrid, a full in-person, and a remote option for summer school. So I think when you're talking about capturing students in summertime and really giving them that opportunity to either regain credit or get back on track on the A through G front by improving a grade, I think we're able to capture more students that way too, which is a positive factor.
Thank you.
Unless there are further questions, I'm going to go ahead and make a motion. I move that we approve Exhibit A, the 2022-23 revised goals and success indicators, and Exhibit B, the LCAP timelines and stakeholder input process. Is there a second?
Second, Pearson.
All right. Trustee Williamson made the motion. Trustee Pearson seconded the motion. And I'm going to start the discussion, and then I'll turn it. I support, and this is board members, I'm talking to you. I support staff's recommendation to approve Exhibit A, including removing the DE&I presentation from the goals and success indicators. However, and incorporating them into a strategic plan. However, I don't support holding off taking action to help our struggling students until the plan is put into place. In spite of the valiant efforts on the part of teachers, parents, support staff, and site and district leaders, many students really struggled with remote learning while schools were closed during COVID restrictions, and I think both academically and in terms of social emotional health. I believe we see evidence of that in the results that were presented tonight. So as a board, what do we do about it? We could wait until next June when the principals report on the results. A look back is always helpful, but in this case, I think we need real-time feedback and accountability. In a discussion with Dr. Nye and Dr. Churchill today, I propose that the board receive a monthly report update from each principal regarding the interventions implemented and the progress being made by the students on the MTSS watch list. Not their names, but a report in general terms. Stephen Covey advocated accountability breeds responsibility, and responsibility being two words. Accountability breeds responsibility. In other words, the ability to be responsive, which means to take ownership. I believe this monthly reporting will enable teachers and principals to be more responsive in seeing to the needs of these struggling students. So it's under those circumstances, conditions, that I will be supporting staff's recommendation. Ms. Jones, did you want to say something?
Thank you, President Williamson, for your comments. I agree with all but removing DEI, and I'll share why. How do we assure that the district's focus is held accountable to a level when the speakers, many of them spoke tonight about how urgent the work is? And so I think the results from LCAP scream loud and clear, at least on an academic level. Students' needs, we're falling behind for these students, and it's urgent. So my only disagreement with taking it from a success indicator on the front page is it sends a very loud message. This isn't important to us, so we'll just keep it as an update. And so on this, I disagree. I will be supporting staff's other recommendations to change the targets and to add fiscally sound into goal 2. But I feel now is the time for bullet 3 to be brought to or kept on the front of LCAP. Thank you.
Is there any other discussion?
So I have a discussion to response with Trustee Jones. If the action or the success indicator is to implement at least 90% of year 1, we would have to modify the success indicator.
So what I heard Dr. Nye say today is that if our DEI plan had an action item on it related to, we could dig into why, he said, we have gaps in graduation rates and A to G rates in our subgroups. Specifically, when I look at graduation rates and scores for ELA and math for Black students, Hispanic students, it just is, it's important work, and I want to hear. I think our community wants to hear. They spoke about it tonight. And I think it's important work that has to remain, at the front, because I think that there's also questions that are being asked of our community on this particular topic. So I, for one, cannot support removing that priority from LCAP.
Any other further discussion? Could you call for, oh, sorry.
I think it's critical, and I support the idea that we have more frequent reporting with real data in terms of those students that have struggled, and we have, now we've been able to identify those students. So I want to separate that piece from the DEI piece and say, do we have all the things in place, particularly for our subgroups, that are going to help them be successful to this point? And I want to believe what I heard tonight was that all our subgroup kids that are not doing well, we have the strategies to impact that. On the issue of DEI, as it relates to the conversations we've had over the past to make sure that there is nothing in our district that gets in the way of a student being able to be successful, that DEI gives a platform to discover if that's the case or not, to do that. But that's theoretical. What I'm saying right now, that's very theoretical. So I don't want to not do the things that we've all agreed on as it relates to DEI in terms of making sure all students that come to Carlsbad Unified have the ability to be successful, and nothing gets in the way of that. But we don't know that tonight to do that. And I just need some clarification that even if we remove the success indicator, that doesn't take away from us using DEI as a discovery tool. And I may be articulating it incorrectly, but as I understand it, the reason I support DEI is because to make sure every student in this district feels part of this district, feels have the equal opportunity to be successful in this district, to do that, and they're included in this district. That's why I've supported DEI, to do that. But if I miss something, please, my colleagues here, correct me.
So let me ask Dr. Nye a question, and which is typically a little out of order, but I think it's appropriate. If it is, so the staff recommendation was to remove it. If it is removed, what will you be doing differently as a result of not having that be included as the goal?
Nothing. I think that work continues regardless of if it's, and let me say this, even, so to answer your question, nothing. And I know that even in our mid-year plan, we got direction from the board to bring back subgroup information that we're going to be presenting mid-year for that. So we're going to continue the work of developing that plan. We're going to continue the work of actions and services around that plan to meet the needs of all students. So really nothing would change other than the fact that it would align with what we're currently doing in our other two strategic plans. That was the purpose of the recommendation, is to be in line with what we are currently doing with our technology plan as well as our CTE plan. So that was the purpose.
So, yes, Ms. Jones.
Thank you, President Williamson. I just want to correct something that I heard Trustee Pearson say. He said that we've all agreed on all the things that we need to get done, but we haven't actually had the meeting to discuss all of the things that we need to get done. The plan hasn't been brought to us to examine the feedback. That was the first phase, is a listening tour. So what are those barriers? And as a board, we have not heard that yet. And so in terms of a strategic plan to help subgroups to understand all the things that we need to remove, we haven't heard that feedback from the subgroups that are sitting at low percentages, which from, a numbers perspective is impacting the entire district at the levels that they are. And so I just want you asked to be corrected, and so I just want to make sure you understand that part we haven't even had the discussion. So I thought it was coming, as we were advised, this month or next month. I think November was the time frame. And so I would just prefer to have it stay on track so that we can get to the part where certainly if we want to line up from a strategic plan standpoint, we can. But in terms of staff timing, and if the work isn't going to stop, then I think hearing the feedback from the stakeholders who are impacted and who have the barriers, so that we can work on the strategic plan, on the cycle, to take down those barriers for those students. Thank you.
And thank you for bringing that up, Ms. Jones. And I guess I'd have a question that I have thought about. It's been a long time since we've had turnover on the board. And so we have, as a board, we have worked to, as a board, we have worked thinking that we will be working together. And so we're going to have at least 2 new board members as of December. And as I've thought about this, I believe I would like to have the board members who are going to be on the board for the next 4 years definitely be part of the formation component of the DE&I plan. And so that's another thing that, which doesn't really address necessarily what we're voting on tonight, but just something to kind of be thinking about. That to me, it's important that the people who are going to be looking at from an accountability perspective, that they be receiving the feedback. It doesn't mean that we wouldn't maybe have 2 meetings where it's discussed, but I would prefer that they be part of giving the direction and receiving the input. So Mr. Pearson and then Ms. Jones.
So I agree with that as well. The composition of the board, certainly we know 2 are going to change in December. And I think from a community's viewpoint, in terms of having 2 new board members, not just because they're there, but because the community is going to see they're going to vote for 2 new board members, they should be given the opportunity to weigh in on the plan. I absolutely agree, nothing should change in terms of making sure we get the feedback. Everything that Trustee Jones has said, I absolutely agree. Perhaps where we disagree is the timing, but the timing for me is contingent on new board members, is to do that. So I agree with that.
Ms. Jones.
Thank you. I guess I appreciate what you've described, and I certainly agree, but I think the board members sitting at this table asked for the first phase, which was gathering feedback.
This is what we got tonight.
Well,
right?
no.
Oh.
We've got academic performance, and that's actually stark, but we haven't gotten feedback on perceived barriers to lack of access, tools, et cetera, that we haven't heard the results of listening tour. So in my perspective, this is one part of it, and the second part is the listening tour. And that part is going to happen in front of our community, and everybody's going to hear the feedback regardless of who's sitting up here. But it's been the direction of this sitting board to get that feedback, to begin that work. And I've seen all the votes happen. Everybody who is listening has seen the votes happen. It was a priority that we put on the LCAP for this year. We had, community input. We had lengthy, multiple discussions. And now we're saying we can't hear the feedback so that come December, meaningful decisions can begin to be made. So that's the part that I can't get behind, because this sitting board asked to just hear feedback in addition to this part alone. The academic performance should sound alarms, because we as a district had been improving in these subgroups, and now we're going backwards. So that alone, as a board, I think is critical work that needs to be evaluated, and it sounds like staff is doing that. But I think that hearing the stakeholder feedback, which is work that has been ongoing, is another critical component to start beginning that strategy. That's all.
I think we're in agreement on that, Mr. Pearson.
I heard clearly from Dr. Nine and the team that DI or otherwise, the students that are not performing well are being addressed right now. To do that, we don't know, to your point, until we know if there's some of the tools that come out of DI really have an impact on academic performance or not. But I don't hear staff waiting till DI comes out and we get feedback to make sure these students are addressed as we're talking right now, and that they've presented several different tools and impacts to those. So I'm still, nothing has changed my mind about what we've said. And if we need to go to a vote, I'll let you know my vote's going to be wait till the new two board members are on.
So there's a motion on the table that has nothing to do with that component of it. So we know what the motion is, or Ms. Williams.
So I haven't weighed in yet.
Okay, yes.
I 100% completely agree with Trustee Jones. We are the board that put this on the success indicators. So as a board, I would have concerns if it wasn't presented to this board. Knowing that we had it as a goal, a success indicator, and it still hasn't been presented to us. So I do have a concern if it was presented in December.
So what you're saying is that you would want to have a finished plan presented in November, or to receive
December.
or receive the feedback. That's where receiving the feedback is one thing. Having a completed plan, which indicates that the board has given direction, that's a different matter. So are you saying that you don't think that at least 2 new board members would be able to provide input into the plan? Is that what I'm hearing? Well, no, Ms. Williams, if you could answer.
We haven't even seen the plan, the inclusion plan that was planning to be on in December.
Correct, but what I'm saying is I want to clarify so staff can hear. Do you want a completed plan presented in November, or would you be wanting the input, the data to be presented? This board, the current board, would provide direction, but the completed plan, the new board would also have the opportunity to provide some input to.
So may I ask a question of staff?
Yeah.
Dr. Nye, could you put this success indicator, is it written as stated by staff on this slide at this bullet point that was originally on the LCAP, or?
I'm sorry, what are you, sorry.
The LCAP success indicator that this board voted for in a majority that we're asking to be removed, what did it read?
Oh, sorry, let me get that. Do you have that?
Yeah, I've got it here. So the success indicator that was on the goals and success indicators sheet that was approved in the spring, right? It says implement at least 90% of the 22-23 actions included in the CUSD Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Plan.
we definitely have not seen it because it hasn't been created, because tonight we're just receiving this input on subgroups, and then I'm assuming that at a subsequent meeting, we would be receiving additional input, and then information, and then we would be providing input, and then I would not want them to write a plan before we've provided input.
Thank you. That's my point is, I guess we're working towards getting more information about feedback to develop the plan. So I guess my question to staff is, taking this off, does the stakeholder feedback gathering process, has that occurred, and could that be presented to us in November?
It has occurred. We have had world cafes with stakeholder groups. We certainly could include themes from those world cafes to the board. So whether that's November, when you request that, we could bring something back to you. Absolutely.
I'm totally comfortable having that data presented October or November.
Great.
That I'm totally, what I'm not comfortable with is having the new board not be able to provide any input before a completed plan. And because they could certainly be invited to attend, just as any member of the community in October and November, but to have a completed plan just doesn't, anyway, that's what my concern is.
I have one follow-up question, staff. So in terms of components for feedback, be it academic performance, which we have now, you have stakeholder feedback, what other information will staff require that would have fulfilled the amendment that you're requesting tonight? What is left outstanding in order to be able to develop a plan, boots on the ground come December?
Yeah, I think we have the information that we need to develop the plan. We're actually just met with yesterday members from the DE&I committee and reviewed some top-level goals and success criteria, asked for their feedback. We have not yet followed up and had a meeting with students to gather their feedback on what those goals potentially could look like. But we have collected, if you will, the World Cafe information. We did launch a survey towards the end of last year, so we have that information available, and then we've done a deeper dive into some of the other success criteria data, if you will, as it relates to what would comprise creating goals.
So I have a question about that. So my follow-up on that piece, Dr. Nye, is in the data collected related to academic performance tonight, it's related to graduation rates and SBAC testing. Was there analysis done on academic grades as well?
Yes.
Okay, so that data is also available.
Yes.
Okay. All right, there's a motion on the table. Would you?
Can I just add one thing?
Yes, you may.
So I just want to be clear. The motion on the floor is approving the exhibit as is. And it does include the elimination of one success indicator. But I just want to reiterate what Dr. Nye said. The work is underway. Staff is ready. As soon as you tell us to agendize the item, staff is ready to present that information to this board. So it can be done as soon as October or November or December or January. We stand by and we're ready, whether or not the success indicator is here as listed. So I don't see the removal as impeding the important work.
And I have a board request to make at the end of the meeting that related to that. Just
Okay.
so you know.
As do I.
Okay. I'll let you go first, and maybe I won't need to say it then.
So I'm going to be voting no on the motion on the floor to be able to request that later on that staff bring back the remaining stakeholder input and grade data that they've collected to help begin formulating action steps to prepare for a plan, a DE&I plan as stated.
All right. Would you please call for a vote? Oh, sorry.
So no, I'm going back and forth. I understand Trustee Jones's concern, and it's also perception. we haven't received something that we're removing off. If we've had the meeting for the DEI plan, I would say, okay, whoops, sorry. Okay, remove it, but we haven't. So the perception is, we haven't received the plan and a board meeting, so that we're taking it off, and it shows as if it's not our priority. Just that alone, that's why we're voting no.
Then, maybe before we take the vote, then let me just say one thing, that if you would like, I can amend the motion to say that we are directing staff to bring back the data at the October board meeting. So if I amend the motion to add that, then it becomes part of the motion.
So I want to follow up, so I want to put this bullet point removal on hold. So if that does that, then I will support that. I want to keep it on there until we continue to hear the feedback.
Okay, and then let's go ahead and take a vote as is, because the reason I'm supporting it is because it was staff's recommendation so that we're consistent with the other strategic plans. I'm trying to make things, the processes consistent with that. So I will be supporting it, but we can then have if this one is voted down, because we obviously we'd need to have 3 yeses, then we can entertain a second motion. Okay? All right, so would you please take the vote?
Student Representative Headley?
I guess I'm just like a little bit confused. I agree with Trustee Jones that we should wait until we have some feedback from the stakeholders. So this vote includes that bullet point, or it does not? It removes that bullet point. Okay, then I vote yes. Oh.
They're removing it with the vote, so. Just for point of order, could Ms. Garcia repeat the motion on the floor so that board members know what they're voting for and what an affirmative vote would mean?
I'm going to ask Dr. Churchill to repeat the motion just because I don't have internet and I'm not able to type.
We're still having some tech problems over here. I have it. The motion was to approve Exhibit A, the 22-23 revised goals and success indicators, and Exhibit B, the LCAP timelines and stakeholder improvement input process. So it's to approve Exhibit A, which does 3 things. It removes the success indicator regarding DE&I. It adds the phrase fiscally sound to Goal 2, and it increases the SBAC, ELA, and math growth targets to 2%. So if you vote yes, you're agreeing with those 3 things. If you vote no, there's something in there that you don't agree with and you can't move forward.
I'm going to vote no and wait for the feedback from the stakeholders.
Trustee Jones?
No.
Trustee Williams?
No.
Trustee Pearson?
Yes.
Trustee Williamson?
Yes,
We have a motion fails.
motion fails.
2-2.
Would someone like to make another motion? I'll make a motion. I move that we approve Exhibit A, the 22-23 revised goals and success indicators, with the exception of bullet number 2. And Exhibit B, the LCAP timelines and stakeholder input process. Is there a second? Oh, no, I'm sorry, remove the 3rd bullet. Okay, take this back. I take it back. I move that we approve Exhibit A, the 22-23 revised goals and success indicators with the exception of bullet 3. And Exhibit B, the LCAP timelines and stakeholder input process. Is there a second?
Second, Pearson.
Any discussion? Ms. Garcia, please take a vote.
Student Representative Headley?
Yes.
Trustee Jones?
Yes.
Trustee Williams?
Yes.
Trustee Pearson?
Yes.
Trustee Williamson?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
We now move to item 7.4, revision of board policies first reading. Trustees, this is a discussion action item. I turn it over to Dr. Churchill.
Thank you. There's one board policy on your agenda this evening, board bylaw, 9324. That board bylaw has to do with minutes and recordings. There was a previous governance request by Trustee Rawlings that we maintain recordings of board meetings indefinitely on our website. Following that request, staff took the existing board policy, board bylaw, and added one sentence. A recording of board meetings that are live streamed will be available on the district's YouTube page, semicolon, it is the intention of the board that these recordings not be erased or destroyed so as to be available for future viewing for as long as YouTube maintains the recording. So the one challenge that staff has with saying we're going to keep something forever is that's difficult to guarantee, not knowing how technology may change or whether or not any given internet platform may be in existence at any point in the future. So I think we attempted to modify the sentence by including for as long as YouTube maintains the recording. So if you approved it as is, what we're agreeing to is anytime we live stream a meeting like we are tonight, that recording will be available on the district's YouTube page for as long as that district YouTube page exists. I'll say one more thing, and that is typically our process allows us to review something as a first reading and waive the second reading if we so desire. I would recommend not doing that tonight only because Trustee Rawlings made the request and she's not here. So I think it would be wise to, if you do approve it only as a first reading tonight. We'll bring it back next time for the second reading.
Thank you. Have any blue cards been received?
There are no blue cards for this item.
May I have a motion to approve Board Bylaw 9324 as a first reading? Yes. Are there any questions? Ms. Jones?
I just have a quick staff question on this. I guess, does this put an expenditure down the line potentially if we need to move and host and what have you? I guess, is there a mandated cost that will come with maintaining forever?
The only cost that I can imagine at this point is if YouTube started charging for maintenance of videos. Currently, it's a free service.
Right, so then I guess, then a follow-up to that is, will that be brought back to the board to discuss if there's a charge? You know the board.
I do know the board.
Stewards of taxpayer money, and I just want to make sure, and I'm sure that the records of board meetings are important to taxpayers as well for transparency's sake, but I just want to make sure we have that conversation in front of taxpayers.
Yeah, no, that's understood. That is understood, and yes, I think it's fair to say that at some point, should services come at a cost, we could update the board.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions? Okay. Are there any blue cards?
There are no blue cards for this item.
Okay. May I have a motion to approve Board Bylaw 9324 as a first reading? No, as a first.
So move Jones.
Second,
Okay.
Pearson.
Ms. Jones made the motion, and it was seconded by Mr. Pearson. Is there any discussion? Ms. Garcia, would you please call for a vote?
Student Representative Headley,
Yes.
Trustee Jones,
Yes.
Trustee Williams,
Yes.
Trustee Pearson,
Yes.
Trustee Williamson.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
Thank you. We now move on to item 7.5, public hearing and approval of resolution number 11-2223, sufficiency of textbooks and instructional materials for 22-23. Trustees, this is a discussion action item. Dr. Nye.
Staff's happy to answer any questions. We're happy to say that we've met the requirements for sufficiency of textbooks, and we're happy to answer any questions that you might have.
This is the time and place designated for the public hearing to assure the availability of sufficient textbooks and instructional materials. I declare the hearing is now open. Have any written comments been received from any person as to these proceedings?
No.
Have there any blue cards been received?
No blue cards have been received.
Hearing that there are no comments, I declare the hearing is now closed. And it says bang gavel, so I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. Just want you to know. All right, staff, let's see. Trustees, do you have any questions? May I have a motion to adopt Board Resolution number 11-2223, declaring that each student has been provided sufficient textbooks and instructional materials aligned with the content standards and curriculum frameworks, Exhibit B.
So moved.
Second, Jones.
Trustee Williams made the motion. Trustee Jones seconded the motion. Any discussion? Ms. Garcia, please call for a vote.
Student Representative Headley,
Yes.
Trustee Jones,
Yes.
Trustee Williams,
Yes.
Trustee Pearson,
Yes.
Trustee Williamson.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
We now move on to item 7.6, approval of resolution number 8-2223, teaching outside credential authorization. Trustees, this is a discussion action item. Mr. Grove.
This is a routine annual resolution which comes before you at this time every year. I don't have any other comments unless you have any questions.
Have any public comments been received?
No blue cards have been received.
Trustees, any questions? Yes, Mr. Pearson.
One more quick question for Mr. Grove. The impacts of this in this environment now, can you articulate, I know it's routine, but can you just articulate the impacts to the district?
Well, it's necessary that we take appropriate action to ensure people are appropriately assigned. This allows us to assign teachers outside their primary credential to an elective. For example, a couple of the people on here are athletic directors who oversee independent study PE. That may be outside their credential area, but it's certainly within the line of their job descriptions of athletic director. Somebody who holds a biology credential, for example, may teach a marine science elective. While that's not a specific credential they hold, it certainly is within, according to our belief, within their expertise.
The question I was trying to get to, Mr. Grove, is the need greater now than pre-pandemic?
No, it varies from year to year depending on a variety of factors. But no, I don't think it's it's not significantly different from any of the other 10 years. Yeah.
Ms. Garcia, please call for a vote. Oh, we have. Any discussion? Did we have I thought we already made a motion. I think we didn't make a motion? Oh, okay. May I have a motion to adopt resolution number 08-2223, teachers teaching outside credential authorization per EC 44253.10-EC 44263.
So moved. Williams.
Second, Jones.
Trustee Williams made the motion. Trustee Jones seconded the motion. Is there any discussion? Yes.
So Trustee Pearson, I actually have a question. You mentioned, you said in this environment. Can you please clarify what you mean? I didn't understand.
What I was saying was we're in a post-pandemic, first year really we're coming back. Are there teacher shortages? Are there credential shortages?
Okay.
That's what I meant by environment.
Thank you. I appreciate the clarity.
Any other discussion? Ms. Garcia, please call for a vote.
Student Representative Headley,
Yes.
Trustee Jones,
Yes.
Trustee Williams,
Yes.
Trustee Pearson,
Yes.
Trustee Williamson.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
Thank you. We now move on to item 7.7, approval of resolution 09-2223, Week of the School Administrator. Trustees, this is a discussion action item. I will now turn it over to Mr. Grove.
As you know, we acknowledge our classified and certificated staff during the month of March. This is the month that the state has determined that we recognize our outstanding administrative staff, and it's one other opportunity for the board to demonstrate their reading ability as you read the resolution out loud.
Have any comments been received?
There's no blue cards for this item.
May I have, trustees, any questions? All right. May I have a motion to adopt resolution number 09-2223, designating October 9th through 15th, 2022 as Week of the School Administrator, Exhibit A?
So moved, Pearson.
Second, Jones.
Trustee Pearson made the motion, trustee Jones seconded the motion. Any discussion? Ms. Garcia, please call for a vote.
Student Representative Headley,
Yes.
Trustee Jones,
Yes.
Trustee Williams,
Yes.
Trustee Pearson,
Yes.
Trustee Williamson.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
We will now read this resolution, starting with Dr. Churchill, and then we'll work our way down the line and then go around again.
And I'll start with the first whereas. Whereas approximately 15,000 certificated and classified school administrators work in California's public schools. And
Whereas nearly 60% of these administrators are principals and vice principals, providing direct support for the educational programs at school sites. And
Whereas research has determined that one of the main attributes of effective schools is the competent leadership of principals, and
Whereas other certificated and classified administrators provide leadership and support for the educational program by developing and implementing the curriculum, selecting textbooks and instructional materials, recruiting, training, and evaluating classified and certificated staff, managing the budget, monitoring cost controls, implementing school board policies, and complying with federal, state, and local regulations and laws, planning and maintaining school facilities, and providing transportation, nutrition, and social service programs to pupils and their families. And
Whereas research shows that efficient district-level administration improves teacher effectiveness, and
Whereas research shows that public school administration in California has become increasingly efficient and effective, with fewer administrators managing more schools with more pupils than in the past. And
whereas a school's administrative team includes confidential employees who perform and assist in the performance of many critical functions. And
whereas school administrators and confidential employees ensure that effective and innovative classroom instruction is promoted in every area of California. And
now therefore be it resolved that the week of October 9th through October 15, 2022 be proclaimed the week of the school administrator in honor of the many outstanding contributions and services provided by the administrative teams in California's public school districts. And
be it further resolved that the administrators of California's public schools be commended for their support of and contributions to quality education in the state.
thank you. We now move to Part 8, Governance Team Reports and Requests. Are there any governance team reports? Mr.
yes,
Pearson.
I got to pull it out. There was a school and city meeting held this week, and I got to get my notes, so excuse me. Just pull them out here quickly. It was held on, gosh, I'm sorry. I have them here. Well, I guess I don't know. Oh, yes, I do. Here we go. I'm sorry. There's 3 districts out of the 4 districts represented on the school side of the conversation held at City Hall. It was, of course, Carlsbad Unified School District, Encinitas Elementary, San Diego. And we were, there was 3 superintendents for those 3 districts represented. There was one trustee representing our district. That was myself there to do that. And I don't want to spend a whole lot of time, but I think most, and Dr. Churchill might weigh in on this, but I think most of the conversation was about safety. And a lot of the time was spent on e-bikes in particular, and cycling here in our community, and how we can collaborate between school districts and the city and the police department. There was also a presentation by the police department on their work that they are doing right now, particularly as it regards to working with our Safe Route Schools trial with our school, which there was a sense of pride that they picked Hope Elementary to do the trial in as well. There is going to be a September 16th, there's going to be a DUI checkpoint established. They didn't say where. That is going to be set up as well. There was some conversation on the current declaration and local safety emergency here in Carlsbad by the city, and the city manager, Scott Chadwick, went through all the actions and the $2 million that was expended, and that it will be reviewed every 60 days to see if there's still a need, and the council will make that decision. I'm seeing what else here. If I missed, oh, I'm sorry. So there was a presentation by Lieutenant Shipley on active shooter. I know this is very close and dear to heart to several of my trustees here, going through the Kelly shooting in particular, and having students there and friends and through that as well. So there's going to be update. I do think it was great that Dr. Churchill, if he doesn't speak up for himself, I will, that he updated the council members that were there, as well as the city manager and staff, on the work that we're doing in our district to update our safety plans and the collaboration we're doing with several agencies, both local, state, and federal agencies as well. Did I miss anything, Dr. Churchill?
Thank you. Are there any other update or reports, Ms. Jones?
I just wanted to share, team, that I will be having, or I will be at the first SDCSBA meeting of the year on Monday night, September 19th, and it'll be our first one in person, which will be great to see everybody.
Thank you. And I don't believe that we need to report out from our LCAP because it was presented tonight. Okay. Are there any board requests? I think, yeah. All right. It is 9:34, and this meeting is now adjourned. Our next regular meeting will take place October 19th at 6 p.m., and we will be returning to the district office. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you.